record and screen share. Here we go. So I'm going to pick up with the last statement we were playing with, the last implication. If I am at BMCC, then I am in Oregon. All right, so that was my statement. Now that was made up of a couple of statements, and some facts related to this are, so again, this is the hypothesis, this is the conclusion, and a hypothesis is sometimes called a premise. So some premises related here. It was like preliminary information. BMCC is in Oregon. Okay, so that's one kind of premise statement that could go along with this. Another one could be I am at BMCC. And I can turn this into a Venn diagram by saying, all right, here is my best rendering of Oregon. Not bad, huh? And then inside Oregon is a place over here called BMCC. So this is a Venn diagram showing that BMCC is in Oregon. It's also like a map. And then, guess what that is right there? That is I, me, okay? I am at BMCC. So when I'm going to check the validity of the statement, if I am at BMCC, then I am Oregon. When I take the information like BMCC is in Oregon, I am in BMCC, then I can say, oh yeah, look, here I am in BMCC, I'm also in Oregon. So I can use the Venn diagram to kind of visually verify the information. So we're just going to look at a couple more complicated situations of that from the homework. So let me switch over to homework 2.2. And there isn't an activity for 2.2. I wasn't able to come up with one that I thought was good enough. So we just have the reading and the homework. And the sample exams here are just for fun. And this exam here has yet to be useful. We'll talk about that. So homework, come on. And resume. So let's see, what do I want to look at? Not that, not that, not that. Yes, here we go. So I am going to take a screenshot of this and analyze it. Have you help me out? All right, so we have a couple of premises and then a conclusion. So if the first premise is true and the second premise is true, is the conclusion true, is what we're trying to get at here. So all people cherishing living are persons living excellent lives. Well, that's a tongue twister, ain't it? All right. All people cherishing living are persons living excellent lives. Okay. So if I was going to do a Venn diagram based on that first sentence, I would say, all right, here's all people, let's see, all people cherish, so all people cherishing living are people living excellent lives. So this is cherishing right there. All of those folks are people, that live excellent lives. Okay, so let me see if I drew that right. All people cherishing livings are people who are living excellent lives. That seem reasonable? So all I've done is draw that first sentence there. So I'm a person that cherishes living, which means I also live an excellent life. Next sentence, all folks who live well are people cherishing living. Okay, so all folks who live well, so that's like all folks who live in Pendleton are people who live in Oregon. So all folks who live well think that would go in here. Here are all the folks that live well, and they are people who cherish living. And there's the cherish living right there. So I took the premise and the second premise, and I tried to fit them together. Then I look at the conclusion. All folks who live well are persons living excellent lives. So here's a person who lives well. Are they also a person that is living an excellent life? Well, yeah, they're inside the live excellent life circle. So putting together the premises and then examining the conclusion, pretty sure this is true. So I didn't do a square here. I just did circles for my Venn diagram. That's okay. These circles happen to live completely inside of each other just because of, what's that ding dong? Just because of the way the premises worked out. And we'll look at another example in a minute. Bring up my chat in case I missed anything. My chat is missing. Where did it go? Lost my chat. Oh, there you are. Okay, no chats in the moment, and people. All right, gotcha. Let's try another. So what I believe is that this is a valid argument when I put them together in the picture. Okay. How about this one? Yeah, let's look at this one right here. All right, let's try the next one. Screenshot. So I want to see if this is a valid conclusion. And so we're going to try and take these and make a Venn diagram on them. So I'm going to give you a moment to draw what you think the two premises look like together. So usually I start by drawing one and see how the other fits in with it, and then I look at the conclusion. So it's kind of a three-step process. So give it a shot. Don't worry about messing it up. Who cares if your circles aren't in the right spot? Just do it. All right, so here's my version of step one. All complex ideas are works of the mind. So here are my complex ideas. They have to be works of the mind. If I tried to draw it the other way accidentally, so suppose I did it like this. I drew like a big circle for complex ideas, and then I put works of the mind in here. Mind. Here is a complex idea right there, but that one is not a work of the mind. So this picture would violate that right there. So that would be not the correct version of the first step. So I have a complex idea, it's right here. It happens to be inside the works of the mind. This is not a complex idea out here, so who cares? All right, next. All relations are works of the mind, okay? All relations are works of the mind. Well, here's works of the mind. Relations could be over here. It could be over here. Could be over there, right? It could be anywhere inside works of the mind. So maybe like this is my relations right here. Okay. All relations are complex ideas. What do you think? True or false? False, says Amy. Yeah, I agree. Again, all relations are works of the mind. So they're just inside works of the mind. Complex ideas are inside the mind. And maybe or maybe not, there's some overlap. I don't know. It's not clear. I don't have enough information here. So that means this last sentence is false because there's a possibility that these relations are not complex ideas, that they're out here, but still works of the mind. So in this case, the picture makes it false. And these pictures are hard to draw. Sometimes I don't get them right at the first time. I got to think about it and say, okay, could I be here? Could I be there? Could I be there? Could I be there? So you got to kind of play around with your picture and think about being in different spots. What I could say is some relations are complex ideas? I don't even think I could go that far because it's possible there's no intersection between relations and complex ideas. Okay, so there's not much I can make about a conclusion based on these two premises. So I just want to break these down in a slightly different way. So all complex ideas, that's one thing. And then we have our works of the mind. So if something is a complex idea, then it is a work of the mind. Okay, so that's like saying, like C for complex ideas implies that it's a work of the mind. So let's say W is work of the mind. This one right here, relations, that says, let's say R for relations. If something's a relation, then it is a work of the mind. So I have C implies W, I have R implies W. Okay. They both imply W. If I look back at the other one we did, that was a true one. This one was false. This other one right here, so let me see, we have cherishing lives, excellent living, and living well. So let's call this one C. Let's call this one E. And then let's see, what do we have? Living well. I'll call it W for well. So I have C implies, let's see, that was supposed to be an E. I have W implies, let's see, folks who live well are people who cherish lives. So W implies C. Notice the flow of the arrows. W says C is true, but C says E is true. So by relation, we can jump straight from W to C, which is what this third statement does. And I probably should have written this in a different spot. So the second premise, if I wrote it in just symbols, would be W implies C. The first statement is C implies E. And if I take W implies C and connect it, it says C implies E, which means W implies E. When I put the other ones together, so I kind of wrote that in the wrong spot, that would be, oops, over here, R implies W. The arrows don't work together, right? So here, this starts with relations. Relations say, yeah, you can be a W, but then there's no connection from W back to C for this third one right here. Because R can go to W, or C can go to W, but there's no way that W goes to C. The direction of the arrows matters. We can't just switch them and it'll still work. It doesn't go that way. So here, these two did not flow well together, but these two did flow well together, again, because I can take the W implies C and join that with the C implies W and get a continuous, or sorry, no, C implies E was the first statement, and get a continuous flow from W to E through C. That works here, didn't work here. So some people like the arrows to try and see if these things work together. Some people like the Venn diagrams. Our minds all work different. All right, let's see. We have time for one more problem, and then we're going to talk about the exam and next week. Negations, contrapositive and converse. We did a bunch of practice with that. More about contrapositive, inverse, and converse. I think those are going to go well. More about those. Yeah, so I don't think you should find this homework too hard. It's about getting down the language. And the language we talked about today, the main ones are, what does it mean to negate something? What does it mean to be an implication? And then how do we turn an implication into a converse, a contrapositive, or an inverse? Let's see, back here. And then how can we use Venn diagrams to help take these complicated statements and see how they flow together and make sense at the end? Because people make these statements all the time. Well, this is true, and that is true, and this is true, and that is true. Well, then all this other stuff must be true. But sometimes it's all a bunch of crappy words that when you really write them down, don't connect. So here's a place where, no, this conclusion doesn't connect based on the information. And here they do. And sometimes I listen to people talk and I can say, well, wait a minute, I don't know if those connected. And I have to write something down like this to kind of figure it out, to see if they're full of it or whether they're in fact telling the truth. All right, so that'll take a little practice. So again, read the logic section, give these problems a try. If something is perplexing you, you got that message instructor option. And then when I reply to you, you will see your mailbox light up here. So like right now, if I were to message me and say, I am sure my answer is correct, spell, explain why the computer marked me wrong, please. And it'll automatically be addressed to me, I think. And you send it. And then when I'll get an email, and when you get a reply, let me reload this page. You'll see your mailbox say, hey, you've got mail. And you can go there and see what my reply looked like. And hopefully it'll be helpful. Okay, what else? Home screen, I'm gonna stop the recording.